Create is all about photography today. Welcome everyone, welcome to Create, our podcast. It is all about art, but today we are gonna talk about photography again. And as I said before, we're gonna talk to Kelly Bryan, and she recently had a degree in photography. So hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a great passion of me to talk to all photographers and find out all the tricks. So I'm gonna have to ask you first, how did you get this interest in photography? Something very interesting, so tell us.
So it always sounds really cliche when I say this, but I think it's been a passion since I was young. I've always found it quite difficult to kind of verbally communicate my emotions, and I found that through photography I was able to visually communicate them. So it's actually quite a therapeutic tool for me. And from that, my passion for photography just grew. As I was studying through school, I found that still my interest lied with the visual arts. And therefore, as you said, I decided to study at a university. So I studied in Coventry University for 4 years. And that was doing a photography degree. And through those 4 years, my love for it just grew and grew.
This is wonderful to hear. So you had a degree, you're qualified, you have stopped using your camera in automatic mode, right? And now how are you using that photography skill that you have now?
So it's kind of developed on from when I was a child. I still use it very much as a means of expression. So my practice follows a fine art kind of realm. And within that, I use visual imagery to express intangible themes such as relationships or emotion, things that are quite difficult to speak about. But I find that, for example, going on long walks by myself, and I'll find scenes or objects that kind of represent what I'm feeling better than I would be able to myself, and I capture those. And I found this a way of communicating kind of my inner world to other people, which was really helpful for me. This actually followed on to my final major project in university, which was called Talk to Me. So when I was about 17, my parents got divorced, and obviously this was quite a difficult time for the family. And myself, I struggled with the situation, and I turned to photography to help me understand my emotions surrounding that time. And as I said, I went on long walks and photographed scenes which kind of represented the loneliness I was feeling almost. I also did a project with my mother. Our relationship suffered a little bit during the divorce, so this photography almost brought us back together, which was really great. So it's always kind of acted as this therapeutic element throughout the entire of my life.
Wow, that is a lot of stuff that you have done. That's very amazing, because most people will just think about taking a photo of a sunset or maybe a pretty flower, but you're going beyond that and you're actually thinking what can I represent. So we're talking about symbols and how they connect to the other people. What are they going to read into your story? I wonder how many people that are listening to us now are into this, communicating in an abstract, metaphorical way. So maybe darkness and light, big and expansive or small and shrinking. That's very good. I'm so impressed, Kelly. I'll never do such wonderful art. I'll just literally take photographs of things that I like. It's very simple for me. And that's the beauty of photography. Everyone has his own angle, and we can still develop our passion. All right, no pun intended, right? So I wanted to add something. For example, you are looking inside your mind and then moving that outside. I tend to love macro lenses because you are discovering a world that we are completely unaware about. Right? It's invisible, it's there, but until you sit with a microscope or something to magnify that, you cannot tell how beautiful this nature is. Even a stone looks completely different. So I absolutely love sitting with my macro, go there, even at that butterfly. Sometimes just a daffodil, you go there, look at all the leaves, and you go really near. I mean, I spent like a whole afternoon doing a snail. a snail. She was moving too fast for me. But it can turn out gorgeous because the beauty of these wonderful patterns, and you see these patterns in your mind and then you find them in nature, which I think it's an amazing gift. We are glad to have you, and we're going to have to put a link to where your work is so we can see these metaphorical images. And now I'm going to jump completely to different topics. So you have everything there. You're qualified. You've done university. You have a really clear way of talking about your art. You can write about art as well. So as a newly qualified student, is it easy to find a really well-paid career as a photographer?
I wish my answer to that question was a yes, but unfortunately, it is quite a difficult industry to enter, especially as a young creative. Um, I found that as a recent graduate and as a student as well, there's a lot of opportunities out there that pay with exposure, but unfortunately, exposure can't pay for the bills. So it's important to find opportunities that value your skills enough to provide payment for what you're doing, because your skills as a photographer are worth something, and it's important to remember that. And kind of coming back from that question, it's actually a reason why I developed my own platform called ArtLink. I found that when I was at university, I would attend some marvelous photographer talks, but I was always left feeling unsure and confused as to how I, as a student, would get to the position they were in as an established photographer. And I found there was little information that kind of bridged this gap between the two. And because of that, I developed this platform that hopes to kind of help young creatives strive for the paid opportunities that they deserve. I try to achieve this by interviewing a broad range of artists, from illustrators to photographers to multimedia artists to actors. And from this information, I ask the questions that others seem too scared to ask. So things about money, business, and their journey into the industry. And from this knowledge, I hope that the young readers of ArtLink will get a sense of how they can make the transition from a student into a paid professional. So, although it is difficult, there are platforms that are emerging for young creatives to find the paid work that they do deserve.
I think you made a really good point because in all the artistic industry wide, they they always try not to pay, and that can be quite demotivating for people. They can lose their confidence, and then they're forced to do a 9 to 5 job, and then art becomes a side hustle, which is why I have so many of my clients that they're doing these amazing jobs. They love a job, they're very good, they're earning, but they really always wanted to be an artist. And they had to set it aside because earning that money consistently is not really a joke. You really have to be a business person. So being your frame of mind is different when you're working in business mode. So when you're creating, you're all dreamy, that's fine. When you have your technique, you have to be an artisan. But then later on, when you want to propose yourself to the client, you have two things, right? First, you have to know who you're working for and what you're offering to them. So you have to target the correct client. And second, you have to have a kind of belief in yourself. And this comes also from one of my past episodes when I was interviewing Kelly Bryan. Same surname, but she's in Aspen, Colorado, and she's been a art gallery consultant for 15 years. And one of the things that she said, it was a long interview, so it's so much information, very useful. But one of the things she said was that the artist has to be charging the correct amount just to raise the interest of the art gallery. When the work is deemed to be good, if a painter says, oh, it's £100, they're gonna think there is a problem there, and collectors will not be interested in anything cheap, so they want to be thinking about an investment. So if you think about it in that term, once we know our job, we know what we're doing, we should really raise the price because, as I always say, everybody knows, a plumber that comes into your house, just because he's there, he's charging me £65 the first hour. And even if he works 10 minutes, it's £65. So who are we that we are charging less than a plumber? Not to say the plumber is no good because he's highly specialized, but the plumber knows, and that's what he's going to do. So artists are encouraged to think about their worth and charging according to industry. And when people say, how much do you charge? It is better to ask for a high amount of money, and then they say, well, I can do a little bit less, than to ask for low, and they'll say, oh, this one is only £50. And they'll say yes, and you are condemned to work for free for the rest of your life. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. And as you said, the less you value yourself, the less others will value you too. So it's really important to have that self-confidence, to just go out there and know that your skills, not everyone can do them. Most people went to university to gain a degree to be able to do the skills that you do. So you need to be able to promote that and promote your worth to other people. And that starts in the self, that starts in your own self-confidence and self-worth.
I must be so glad with myself because I'm finding all the right people, because my whole podcast and all my niche in my career is to help the people to gain that confidence, go out into the field, learn your skill, and then just offer your service to the world. And you have to believe in yourself. Call it karma, call it universe, call it whatever you want, but you have to believe in yourself before anyone can believe in what you are doing. Now let's jump to another topic. And that is a question that is, it could be as widely answered as you want. And it's, what is the most important thing in the photography world? If you want to survive, what is the most important thing? Or maybe there will be a list.
I would say the most important thing if you want to survive is self-confidence. It is absolutely vital in this field, especially during the current circumstances, and especially if you are a young creative. I'm in the exact same boat. I've had what seems like hundreds of job rejection letters, and it takes real resilience to keep going through those and maintain your own self-value when it seems like no one in the industry wants to work with you, but that's not the case. It's just how the industry is, and you will find your time eventually. Actually, I have quite a nice story that I want to tell. So when I was actually at university in my final year, maybe during December time of 2019, we were doing a professional experience module, and my lecturer was badgering me to start applying for things. And I remember telling him that, my work isn't good enough. I can't get into that. I can't charge that amount of money. The typical things of not having enough self-worth. And my lecturer kept telling me to just do it, just go for it. What can you lose? You can't lose anything. You only lose out if you don't apply, which is very true. So I found one of my favorite magazines. It's called O Magazine. It's a beautiful lifestyle magazine, which includes so many beautiful artists. And I thought, if I was to aspire to be in anything, it would be to be in this magazine. So I remember writing them an email. They didn't have any job applications open, and I didn't see any opportunities on their website. So I entitled my email "A Shot in the Dark" because it really was. I just had, it was just a moment of madness for me. I didn't think that anything would come of it. And nothing did for 4 months. I hadn't heard anything back and kind of had forgotten I even applied for anything. But after 5 months of waiting for a response, she got back to me and she said that she loved my photography and she was going to commission me to be part of the magazine, which was just, it sounds so cliche again, but a dream come true, because all the rejections that I had received, all the responses that I hadn't received from other job applications just didn't seem to matter anymore because of that one success. And I think another really important thing, if you're going to survive in the creative industry, is celebrating those successes, no matter how small they may be, but it's focusing on the things you do achieve rather than on the things that don't come. Because if you focus on what you are doing and where you are going, it's only going to encourage your motivation and drive even more.
Thank you. And also, yes, think about your future. I think it was great. And also your choice of verb. My teacher was badgering me, was inspiring me, right? to go and really believe in myself. And I mean, that's really fun because that's their job. They have to kind of move with teenagers and come on, you can do this. And the teenager is like, oh, I don't believe. Yes, you have to believe in yourself or otherwise nobody else will believe in you. And while you were talking, Kelly, I was just thinking, this reminds me of a story that happened many, many years ago. It was a guy that had studied at art school and knew a few things. And he wanted to be what we call in Italy a scenographer. It doesn't exist in English probably, the same screenwriting type. And so he one day wrote a letter, there was no email, wrote a letter to Disney Italia, which is in Milan, and said to them, can't you see you're doing this wrong? Can't you see the episodes so-and-so and so-and-so of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck? Can't you see this is wrong because the duck is doing that and it was explaining all this mistake that the screenwriter had done. And so you would imagine that the people would have said, oh, shove off, who do you think you are? And instead he got a call from the head of the office there and they said, well, can you do it better? And guess what? He got a job as a screenwriter and I was there for many, many, many years before becoming my agent. And so that really shows. And I didn't know this story and I did the same. One day I read about a studio that was working for Disney. So they were working outside of Disney. And I was like, yeah, that would be quite nice. So I called and they let me in. So I started to work for them. And then at the same time, I said, well, why don't I just go straight to Disney? So I literally knocked on their door and they took me to the Mickey Mouse studio, which was amazing. And I had a chat with a big boss and I did an apprenticeship of 3 years. And I can't say that anybody told me to do it. It was just like me. But if I hadn't knocked on that door, that wouldn't be open. And because of that, I now know quite a few people that have worked for them. I know how the system works and how beautiful, how hard it is to work for them and do always the same thing and has to be just to that standard and it has to be in that style. And it's very complicated. But you have to really try and see if you like it before, you can't just wait that somebody will do it for you. So probably being an entrepreneur, thinking about what can I do next and visualizing this future is very, very important. Well, thank you. This is so amazing and I love to learn more about this. But our readers, our listeners, they want to hear a little bit more. And I was wondering if after your amazing story, you want to give us perhaps just a couple of bullet point tips for whoever wants to start maybe as a career in photography. What would you say?
So I think the key traits to being a successful photographer or creative in general is one, and at the top, is resilience. As mentioned before, the market is so saturated and you just have to keep going. You will receive knocks as everyone does, but your time will come and it's important to acknowledge that. It's important to just keep moving forward. And I think as a creative and as a photographer, that's so important to have the drive to be able to keep moving forward. I would say the next is the ability to collaborate. We're so lucky in the creative industry and in the photography industry that the sector is such a welcoming and collaborative environment. Everyone is willing to help everyone. And I think it comes from the struggles of trying to enter the industry. Everyone understands how difficult it really is. And because of that, they're willing to help people that are trying to get in. So it's lovely to be able to collaborate with individuals, and I think that's a key skill to have, being able to work as a team and to communicate well with others. It's also really important to be able to get your name out there. So going back to the self-confidence we were speaking about, you need to be able to just promote yourself everywhere, enter everything, because you never know, that one opportunity that you take might lead to, the job that you do for the next 10 years. You don't know what's going to lead to what. So it's really important to just get out there, get your name out there, start speaking to people and start applying to everything. Some of it actually is being a bit lucky as well, being in the right place at the right time. I've heard of my friends getting jobs because they were working in a pub and they decided to tell the person that they were serving, oh, I've done this project. And from that, they got talking and realized the customer they were serving realized that, oh, they need an illustrator. And one of my friends actually got a job through that. So it's just being in the right place at the right time and speaking to people. I'd say my last one, and again, one of the most important, is having a true passion. Everyone could have followed the simple path, and I don't think the creative industry or being a photographer is a simple path. We chose this because we're passionate about it and we want to do something that we enjoy. So because we didn't take the simple path, we really have to work that extra bit harder to get to where we want to be. So that's where the passion comes in. You need to keep going and have that drive to keep moving forward.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly. I realize there is so much we have to remember. Our time is pretty much over now, so we have to go. But I'm so thankful that you gave us all these amazing tips and some good inspiration. Please, before you go, tell us where we can find you and where we can find your special website, so maybe some friends would like to sign up.
Yes, so you can view all my work on my website, which is www.kellybryan.co.uk, and the venture that I set up is called ArtLink, which you can find at www.artlink.uk. I'm always looking for people to collaborate with. I'm always looking for free trained practitioners, and I've recently just set up a guest writers page, so if you enjoy writing surrounding the arts, and please do get in touch with me.
Amazing. We're all coming. Thank you so much. Hey guys, this is another episode, number 10, and we've been talking about photography and the industry with Kelly Bryan. Shall we do a little clap? Thank you so much for being here with us, and we hope that we'll get more stuff coming in the future, maybe from her or from some other people, some updates. And we'll get you going with this new career in photography. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This was another episode of Create. It's all about art.